All right, welcome back to step 25. I guess it's not really part 3 like I said in the previous video. This would be part 2 because the other one was part 1. Part 1 of step 24 had to deal with other things. It's the organization here is not great today. Welcome to a day of modeling. Anyhow, now that we've got this figured out and we've got this going in the right direction, what I'm going to do is slip these on. Now I want this to be smooth. It's not as smooth as I want, so I'm going to check the part in there and just see if there's anything. It looks like there's a little bit of a burr right there. Clean that bit out, go in and just run the inside of this real quick. See if that helps. Yeah, it helped enough to where I can turn this if I want to. Now, as stated, I want the glued part to be at the bottom, so I guess I'm not going to worry about it as much as I did on the other one. I'm not going to glue it, but it's a little stiff. That's on. Now, it's important to remember that part B10 right here has the little plate on this corner, so you don't swap these two pieces out. So B10 has a little plate on the outside face down in the corner. That goes on like this. So I'm going to get my glue out. I'm going to put a little bit of glue here and here to start with, just to get this going. There we go. Parts are on. This is where I go in with my applicator, and I will put some in corners. I want this to really seep in, help set that just really solid. Get a good nice bond in there. And I'm going to go to this side, do the same thing. Now, a word on these applicators, it really depends on which individual bottle you get. The applicators can fan out like that. I've had some that are just absolutely wonderful, nice tight pins. So, and there's no way to tell until you open the bottle. And if you open the bottle in the store, sometimes people get excited. Don't necessarily want that. So, just another kind of off to the side note about dealing with brushes and bottles. So while that's setting, I'm going to glue part J10 to part J23. Make sure you do it to where you're attaching it into the top. You want these two larger cylinder pieces on top, and you want the headpiece, this T, going away from the cylinders when you put it on, or with the clip side, or however you want to do it. And notice that this part right here is not 90 degrees, it is at an angle. So this is going to be angled, and that comes in because this is basically a controller for the drum, for the wire on the drum, to keep that from flipping out and hurting anybody or something like that. It's a safety device for unreeling and unreeling, but you want that at the right angle so when you put this on later, it fits. Here's a look at it again, how it went on with the other one. But while I'm waiting, with the fat end on this side, I'm going to put the PE piece in here. Take it, put it on. Now there might be a little bit of bend in the photo etch like you see here. Just take it off real quick and straighten that out. Just carefully. Doesn't take a lot of work, just takes a little bit just to bend it down. Now, one thing I noticed with this Hobby Boss photo etch is that it looks like it's two pieces of thinner photo etch that have been glued or annealed or stuck together. And that changes the characteristics of the metal pieces while you're working with them. So if you're getting a little frustrated or you're noticing that things aren't quite working out the way you expected, it may be part of the problem. So kind of adjust accordingly, that you might not have the most easy to work with pieces of metal with this. I'm not sure why they did it that way. I haven't seen any explanation online for in photo etch in general, or this particular kit, why they did that. But that's the way that it's set up right now. Now I'm going to flip right over to the other side and do the same thing with this other piece of photo etch. Again, before I put the glue down this time, I'm going to check and make sure that it's generally flat so I can work with it. Now I forgot to take part MD14 off the photo etch fret, so you get to see me mess around and find that piece. Take it off the fret and use it. And it's, when you look at it initially, it looks like it's going to be the most annoying piece of photo etch in this step, but that would be incorrect. And I will show you in a minute why that is an incorrect thought. So, with that, I don't want to put this end on here yet, because I need to put on photo etch part MC10, see where it is, because this hooks onto it and it doesn't hook on perfectly. MC10 is a little bit wider. So pull out my photo etch. No. MD14, I'm sorry. No, that's not right. MC10. Wrong photo etch set. And this is also where all the photo etch, even though it's nice that you get it from the kit, there's just a lot of photo etch to keep going through. So there's MC10 on there. Okay, real quick. So I have super glue on the end of my blade from trying to get that to settle with the drum. Clean off my blade real quick. Now I go in as close as I can to clean that up, and then I outline it on the plastic real quick so I can lift it up and get the part. And I'm not that worried about the plastic on there, but I do like to keep it on just as a cursory protectant. And this plastic does have a little bit of adhesion to it. Alright, that's off. Clean off any pieces of plastic that are left. Put my plastic or my photo etch away, since I don't need it now. Now I've got my part down here. What I want to do is real quick check it, make sure there aren't any burrs. There are a couple of burrs. The one on this side is not so bad. I'm happy to leave that alone. This burr's too annoying. One thing I like to do is use this small photo etch bendy set. I can find the burr, I can just, yep, there it goes. So I just pulled that off. I don't have to sand these small itty bitty pieces of photo etch down to get them to work. Now, this can be the exciting part. Like I said, you look at this and you think this might be the hardest part in the set. So I'm going to take my forceps and I'm going to designate that as where the line stops and bend this forward. Okay, so it's bent forward, like the outline here. But now I've got to curve it up. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Yeah, that's not really a curve. That's more of a bend. So I'm using my forceps to try to get that to bend a little bit. It doesn't really want to. This is where I was talking about kind of the strange nature of the photo etch. It it kind of bends and kind of doesn't. Yeah. Because I bent it with my fingers, but my forceps not doing it. And then I bend the tip. Let's just see how that looks in general. You know, not too bad. All I actually have to do is bend this piece down a little bit more to just match what they were kind of getting at. All right, there we go. Good enough. So what I want to do then is get some of this new glue and put just a dab of it on that end. And I'm going to take this piece and going and looking. I'm looking for the small raised area right in the middle, right underneath the wire. And there it is. As you can see, the wire gets in the way a little bit. I can raise that up just a titch. Now, in real life, if this is exactly how it's done, where it's a small piece of sheet metal holding that on, that's going to get bent. I mean, that's just going to get bent pretty much right away. So if it's more than just a thin piece of sheet metal, if it's got some size like 1/4 inch steel or something, then it's going to be a lot harder for it to bend. But the point is you may not have that straight on. Doesn't matter. Blow up. Looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now, this is my piece that's going to have to go on there. Give me an idea. I'm going to want to cut this right about there so I can just shove that in and then put that on without any issue. See, it still has the round look for the, yeah, watch out for tweezer launch. The round profile to the metal, I got lucky there. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put some super glue on the end of the cable part, just like that. Doesn't take much for this. And it goes. Now before that sets too well, I want to lower it down. And what I noticed yesterday was that the photo etch doesn't want to go through the cable end as easily as I would like. But there it went. Now I want to keep this down without it being too much of a problem. And that's, there we go, just like that. And that's hooked up. And now what I do is I want to look over my photo etch pieces I've glued on just to make sure everything's in good shape. Now here's the important part. Now that everything's hooked up, take this Put that on. That should fit on there, touch all the plastic everywhere. Looks really good. Get your model glue. Come in from the side so that the capillary action pulls it in. Now, if you're a little worried about this, the important part is as soon as you get some paint on this as well, all of that's going to start adding to holding all of this together without it being tense. The metal over time in the picture framing wire will relax. So I'm not worried about this suddenly springing apart at any given time. But that is your winch assembly done. The cabling is difficult. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Not the easiest thing in the world to work with. Regardless, still hoping that somebody somewhere comes up with a better answer someday. Let's move on to the photo etch. So, what we want to do here is make sure we have everything right. This part goes over there for later. That is probably the hardest part. Although this gives us our challenges. These two dots on this piece right here are on the bottom, inside facing up. So we know we have to fold everything into the etching. The easiest way I found to do that when I was working with the other one is to do the middle one first. The difficulty of working with this that I found out is because the photo etch metal on the bottom edge is so thin, you need to do two things. You need to go under there with a razor blade and really get it under there and start folding it up. Then you need to go in and check, and yeah, like on this one, the razor blade just doesn't have enough oomph to get it to bend up, so I need something thicker. I use the bottom of my tweezers to really make sure that that's squared and bent. And it's more of a curve than a bend right now, so this is not straight up easy either. Oh, okay, that's fairly decent. So it's not perfect. You can see there it's not perfect. So what do? We can't quite get that straight. Well, then I put this piece in the other direction and I start tamping this down, and I use the actual clamp itself to help straighten it out. And that's better. It's not perfect. But again, that's part of the nature of this particular photo etch. So we did it, we want to move on. Clamping in that right there. Now I don't know if it's because this is a shorter piece, but the two sides tend to straight fold without too much issue. Okay, so now we've got these done. What do? How do we get that last one? Well, that's where all these little notches in the photo etch bender come in. Just got to kind of move it around till you find something that'll work, like this one right here. It is on an edge, so, you know. But you should be able to put that in without any issue. Clamp it down. And then I'm just using this rather than the razor blade because this is harder straight up, and just bend it right over. And that works. Once you've done all the bending, you have to do a little bit of adjusting. Go ahead and do that. I'm at the 20-minute mark again. It's so amazing how much time it takes sometimes to work through these issues. So with that bent, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to restart again. Moving on to the actual part 3.